Well, the time is just gone 12 minutes past 9 as we continue with the broadcast this morning. And we are focusing on tomorrow, August the 19th, World Humanitarian Day. Now, being humanitarian is not only about monetary assistance, it's not only about food parcels, which is all obviously necessary, but it is complemented by other humanitarian initiatives or other forms of humanitarian initiatives. And that is what we're going to be focusing on in the next hour or so on the show, where shortly we will be talking with the BrightSpark Foundation South Africa. Welcome, Witbooi, who is the founder and director. We also will be taking a look at knowledge and preparing people to shape a better world. And there are incredible efforts that are taking place. And we'll be talking with Professor Shahid Hartley, head of Advancing Knowledge of Nonprofit Company, AKNPC, and also taking a look at locally what communities are doing. The Riverlea Skills Development Center office, and that we will be focusing on, and also taking a look at the profound connection between Islamic teachings and World Humanitarian Day. So all of that to come on the show from now right until 10 a.m. So stay with us. And if you have just tuned in, we welcome you to the show on the various platforms of Salam Media. And right now, we're going across to join the founder and director at BrightSpark Foundation SA. Welcome, Witbooi. Welcome. Welcome to you. And wonderful you're able to join us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this.
Yes, now, we're looking at the BrightSpark Foundation and obviously restoring hope, building positive relationships between young people and families. But also at the same time, there are people that are very vulnerable within society, whether we're looking at youth, we're looking at women. Now, all of this actually ties in with Humanitarian Day because it is about caring. It is about
Mm.
caring for people in more ways than one. And the point I had made is the humanitarian efforts are not just limited to monetary assistance or contributions or initiatives, but also in more ways than one, because being a humanitarian means that you care for the person. And let's just go through the Bright Spark Foundation, just a brief overview, a brief background as well.
Yeah, no, BrightSpark Foundation is an organization, predominantly a foundation that was established to support vulnerable young people, specifically focusing on vulnerable communities. We predominantly work with young people who are caught in the grips of not knowing what choices to make in life. And because they don't know what choices to make, they sometimes choose to either associate themselves with with bad friends, or make decisions that lead them into joining gangs or becoming part of criminal syndicates. So our objective is to offer them an option to say that instead of going in the wrong direction or following that specific route, there's also education, there's also other activities like acting, dancing, bringing out your true potential, to basically add value to your life and to be able to say that I can actually make better decisions, and there is enough and tangible support that can help me do that. So that is what BrightSpark Foundation initially represents. We also have a very strong base of supporting the child, the parent, as well as the community. So we have that holistic view of how we can say that we don't just focus on helping the child solely, but we also focus on the environment which the child comes from, or where the youth comes from, or where the young woman or the young man comes from. So that's what we do.
Yes, but also, when we look at World Humanitarian Day, it is about, and I'm looking at the theme for this year, it is about recognizing the efforts, it is about recognizing the achievements of humanitarians in every sense of the word, and people like yourselves, people like your organization. What does this day actually mean for you personally and for your organization?
Yeah, it's a very big dynamic, because from if people understand and know where I also come from and my history of where I was caught in as a young boy at the age of 12, joining the gangs, and becoming part of a criminal organization myself. I lost my humanity. You grow up in that sense because you don't have a father figure. You kind of like just go around hurting people because you feel that's the only way that you can get heard or seen. It is when I was in prison that I actually realized that if I'm going to continue on this trend of hurting and taking from others what does not belong to me, I'm going to lose myself completely. And it is at that moment of darkness that I completely understood the point of self-forgiveness, and then also forgiving those that I've always assumed to have been my perpetrators. I think being a humanitarian for me is literally getting back my Ubuntu. In South Africa, Ubuntu basically means I am not who I am without the other person. I cannot get anywhere in life if I do not look at the other person next to me as my brother or my sister. It is when they are in need, I need to be there to support them. When I'm in need, they'll be there to support me. But it's that situation of saying I cannot work in a silo. I need to work as a collective, or we need to work as a collective. So being a humanitarian for me means getting in touch with my humanity, my humanity, the love, the care, the compassion that I have within me, my empathy towards other people, and to also and grow in from a place of love. That's what I understand
Yes,
humanitarianism.
welcome. In fact, what you're saying is very, very true because life teaches us some very, very bitter lessons. And from what I'm just hearing from you, where you're saying that, you lost your humanity. And sometimes it is the bitter lessons that we learn from life that make us a better person. Out of every negative, there is a positive. And this seems to be a very, very strong feature in terms of the motivation and the inspiration you got. And this is the reason why you are where you are today and a humanitarian in every sense of the word.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And that is why I say that when we work with young people, I always say to them that instead of looking at Welcome's past life, look at Welcome's current life. That I could have made different choices. I could have made a different decision. I may not even have been here if I had stuck to my old choices. But because I decided that I'm choosing education as a means to get myself acquainted with what I need to do to become a better product of society. And today I can just basically say thank you for people that have stood by me, that have supported me to get to where I am today. And that is why, as BrightSpark Foundation, we believe in doing the same, that we cannot just say to our young people, live a better life, make better decisions. But at the end of the day, we do not create the opportunities for them or provide them with the support to step into that direction. That is why we do our utmost best to work with many people that have the same sense of direction in helping these young people find themselves and also discover their true potential and become responsible citizens that will be, because they are the leaders of today. And that is why it is important for us to empower them and to build them and to and to educate them. And that's why we love the work that we do.
Well, you certainly do. And I'm sure that there are many success stories that you are able to share with us. Welcome.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we've had opportunities where we went into various communities, and kids that were caught in gangs have decided that they no longer want to be in the gangs. Where we had in situations where we had to go and speak to the principal to get them back into the schooling system. We have a few of our boys and girls that I can say that have felt that because they didn't have a father figure, they would have gone and made a very difficult decision because they wanted to survive. I can proudly say that we've got one of our girls that is currently studying at the University of Pretoria right now, doing her teacher's degree. We have one of our boys that's currently studying at Henley Business School, who's just finished his HCMP, and we've got many of them that are going into some of them are in matric right now because they've decided that instead of following the wrong path, they're doing the right thing by sticking to the process of education. I think it's Nelson Mandela that said education is the most powerful weapon. And we strongly believe that education is the most powerful weapon against poverty. It's the most powerful weapon against the social ills that we face. It's the most powerful weapon against every obstacle that we face. within society, and only through education are we able to achieve what we want to achieve. And that is why we are pushing that agenda of educating our young people and also having them to step in to roles of leadership in various areas of their lives. Like I was saying, they've got, recycling clubs. They are running support for other schools and other learners. They're becoming peer educators. So imagine having this boy and girl that was once part of the problem is now part of the solution, working with SAPS, working with the South African National Defence Force, working with JMPD, various elements of support that they're offering other young people their age. So yeah, I'm happy that our young people are growing to become the leaders that they are destined to be.
Well, you have every reason to be happy. Welcome. Now, I'm sure that welcome, during your life and since you started your work with the BrightSpark Foundation, you've seen so much taking place, and there must have been some very heart-wrenching moments for you as well. What sticks out for you as your biggest heart-wrenching moment?
I think for me, we had an incident in one of our communities in Westbury where we were called to a scene where there was a shooting because there was a lot of gang rivalry in that area, and a 12-year-old boy was arrested for having committed this crime. And I stood there and I was literally in tears because when I saw this boy standing there cuffed, I remember myself. I saw me in him, and I kind of like felt at that moment that as an organization, as a person, as welcome, I wasn't doing enough. I felt broken because we could have done more to save this boy. And I think it is at that moment when we lose a young person to either crime, or we lose a young person to suicide. It is where I kind of like look at myself and say, are we truly doing more? Can we do more as a society, as a community? Can we come together as South Africans and just look at how present can we be as fathers? So that was the moment for me to really basically start working at myself and saying, we really need to speak to our fathers and say, be more present. Speak to our mothers and say, be more present, not just available, but present. So there are moments when I'm sad by what's happening around me, but I try not to allow those bad moments to deter me from the bigger picture, which is that yes, we may have lost that one boy, but there's so many other boys, there's so many other girls that are caught in the same choices that he needs to make. So let us continue, push forward to help the others not make that specific decision that boy has made.
Well, we pray, and our thoughts are with you. Welcome, and BrightSpark Foundation, that you continue pushing forward. And as I mentioned, tomorrow being Humanitarian Day, International Humanitarian Day, this is where we celebrate and we acknowledge, and we truly appreciate the huge contribution that people like yourselves are making to society. And hats off to you. And once again, we thank you. We do appreciate you taking time out, and all the best to you and to BrightSpark Foundation going forward.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Welcome, Witbooi, with us this morning, founder and director at BrightSpark Foundation SA. We come back, we're taking a look at what local communities are doing, and we're looking at the Riverlea Skills Development Center, and we'll be talking with the office manager, Greg Boas.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
For a long time, we've lived in a centralized world where institutions held the all-important data and confirmed all transactions. Those times are over. Welcome to Libertas Group, a blockchain development company boasting an ecosystem that continually redefines the way we do business. Our blockchain is decentralized, making it immune to hacking or alteration, putting the power back in your hands with no middleman so you can focus on the growth of your business. Libertas, the simplest investment choice you'll make.
When you give water, you're reaching out to drought-affected areas, bringing them to life. Fresh water to drink, to clean, and to grow. That's the power of water. Donate now to Islamic relief.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
At the time, I didn't feel that great because I trained very hard. And I couldn't take a picture on the podium because they wanted me to take my scarf off.
It was a confusing moment for all of us because it's never happened before. Nakiba also was feeling conflicting because she wanted to approach the podium.
At first, I never saw myself in completing a national tournament. I just tried my best along the way, but I wasn't expecting to be at that type of level.
A young South African 16-year-old Nakiba.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Well, the time is just gone 9:29 a.m. as we continue with the broadcast. Now, in many instances, when we talk about humanitarianism, when we talk about organizations, when we talk about people who are humanitarians, we find that there is a lot of focus sometimes on the bigger, on the larger organizations, and also in terms of mainstream media, where a lot of attention is given to big, huge organizations. But little do we realize that within society, within communities, there are individuals, there are small communities, and a lot of effort is actually being put in those communities because they are at the coalface of the challenges that their communities face. And one of them is the Riverlea Skills Development Center, a center of excellence. And this is the reason why, as we commemorate, as we celebrate World Humanitarian Day that is taking place tomorrow, this is the reason why we are talking with Greg Boas, who is the office manager for the Riverlea Skills Development Center. Greg, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for the invite. And what a pleasure it is to represent our community on this platform.
Well, definitely. And I think, obviously we need to recognize the achievements of communities, little known communities. And as I mentioned, sometimes the mainstream media, the world doesn't talk about what is happening at community level. And looking at the Riverlea Skills Development Center, I've read about it, a center of excellence, developing skills of youngsters from disadvantaged communities. And all of them, at the end of the day, all of these initiatives for a better life for these young people. Let's just take a step back. Let's look at just the formation of the Riverlea Skills Development Center, some of the background information, and why this is absolutely important and necessary, Greg.
I think when one looks at where we started off, the organization was more focused on the environmental aspect in the community per se. Then eventually we moved over to the skill sector because we started to do needs analysis, identifying the lack within our communities, which obviously set us up in terms of looking at how to better our community. Yes, the focus mainly being the young people per se, because we saw an increase of unemployment. We saw an increase in our dropouts. We saw an increase in the level of kids that have really given up hope per se. And that is where we started to redirect our focus and start focusing on the community at large. And where we are today, it's actually awesome because we've now actually ventured into a much more critical aspect, which is obviously, looking at not just the young people as well, but also our social responsibility to our community. What else is there that we can do to uplift and to also change the mindsets of our people especially when it comes to the identikit of being a poverty-stricken community per se. So we are here to say what changes can we bring and what difference can we make in order to ensure that we as an organization are playing our part in our role within our community positively.
Yes, Greg. And also, I think, it's a situation that you are faced with on a day to day basis. You live in the community, you see the people on a day to day basis. And I'm sure it's actually heartbreaking to see how vulnerable people are in more ways than one. You mentioned things like poverty stricken, unemployment, a lack of opportunities, the feeling of hopelessness. All of that at the end of the day is extremely heartbreaking when one is actually faced with the situation, and the little that someone can do, to make a difference in anybody's life, obviously goes a long way. Give you a lot of satisfaction as well, that what, I've made a difference in somebody's life.
No, no, definitely. When one looks at it, and I always say, I thank, the Almighty for giving us the strength, the power, and the endurance, because it's not easy when you look at the situation that you are faced or confronted with. And even so, as a skills development center, even ourselves, we had to do a mindset change and not just focus on providing a skill to individuals, but also looking at opportunities, create a platform, whether they either engage in a learnership, engage in a job opportunity, and that is where we are at. And then to date, we've had recent successes coming out of it, even success stories for that matter. And that for us is an encouragement. That for us is the drive for us to get up in the morning and to go and do much better. Because at the end of the day, if there's no hope within your environment, where does it leave our communities? Where does it leave the vulnerable people, the vulnerable kids per se? And that is why for us it is really, really true in terms of the humanity factor, that what change have we brought to our community. I don't want to look back in 1 year's time and look at myself as a failure, but at least if I've changed a few lives, that for us is what guarantees our success stories.
Greg, for you personally, what inspired you to be a humanitarian?
What inspires me basically is I always, when I was younger, and I look at today's young people, we never had the opportunities that they're having today. We were never exposed to this. When I finished with school, I couldn't go to varsity. But for me, I always said, I want our generation, I want even my own kids, I want to set that platform where they are able to enter into the sphere, to enter into this notion of having the opportunities that is being provided. And if I can make a difference and bring about the change in one, even if it's just one person's life on a monthly basis, then so be it.
Greg, I'm sure a lot is happening around you, and we know Riverlea was in the news of late, with the whole Zama Zama issue and all those things that were playing out. But what actually saddens you when you work within the community? Perhaps if you could even tell us what was your biggest heart wrenching moment in your exposure to the community while you are doing a work with the Riverlea Skills Development Center.
When one looks at the current status, yes, it was. We were in the news, with regards to the Zama Zamas, but also the one factor that I also need to highlight is also the gangsterism issue that is also rife. In as much as people tend to focus on the Zama Zama issues, which obviously the law has taken grip of that, what about our gangsterism? What about our young people that are dying? What about our young people that are living in fear, for argument's sake, even our communities at large? And it really saddens us to see that the impact it has, the impact it brings about in our community. And for me, when I look at this, it really, where Riverlea was, let's say 10 to 20 years ago, it's not the state right now. And we are saying, what can we do to change that perception, to change that notion that people can freely come and visit our areas without having to have this fear factor within them?
Well, Greg, we thank you for taking time out and joining us on this special broadcast that is dedicated to World Humanitarian Day tomorrow. And once again, we congratulate you and we recognize your achievements, because this is what this day is all about: is to recognize people like yourselves and the amount of work, the tremendous effort that you make in making a difference in the lives of people. So for that, we celebrate together with you, and we pray that the Almighty grants you the strength and the health to continue with the wonderful work and achieve what you really want to achieve in your community out in Riverlea. So all the best to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Greg Boas joining us this morning, and as I mentioned, it is not only about the bigger organizations; it is about small communities like the Riverlea Skills Center that is doing tremendous work in trying to reach out and make a huge difference to the community. We're going to go for a quick break, and when we come back, we are still going to be focused on World Humanitarian Day. We've got the head of Advancing Knowledge, a non-profit company, aka NPC, Professor Shahid Hartley.
Listen to Salam Media.
Help us ease the hunger burdens of those in need by donating to the Sanzaf Meals Project. For just 12 Rand, you can provide a freshly prepared meal to an individual, and with your commitment to a monthly contribution, we can reach out to even more communities and deserving individuals. Call us on 011 834 6046 to learn more about this life-changing initiative. Sanzaf, changing lives through development and relief.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness. And every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Well, the time is just gone 9:40 a.m. as we continue looking ahead at World Humanitarian Day, which takes place tomorrow, celebrated tomorrow. And the point we are making throughout this entire broadcast is humanitarianism and World Humanitarian Day means a lot more than just some sort of assistance where you're giving somebody a pair of shoes or you're feeding somebody. They are immense. There are huge contributions. And as we have heard earlier on with Welcome Witbooi, an ex-prisoner himself and concerned about his community. We've seen the Riverlea Skills Development Center, and we're going across now to look at humanitarian Professor Shahid Hartley, who is the head of Advancing Knowledge, a non-profit company, aka NPC. Professor Shahid, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and similar greetings to your listeners as well.
Yes, wonderful that you're able to join us, Prof, on this day, looking ahead at World Humanitarian Day tomorrow. And the point that I have been making is, humanitarianism takes a special kind of person, someone who is caring, someone who is concerned about people, about their future. And we've seen it come out so strongly as we look ahead at this day to recognize achievements of people who are humanitarians in every day of, in every sense of the word. Prof, just what does this day actually mean for you?
Shukran, brother. The Humanitarian Day deals with people who has made a difference in communities and work towards uplifting and advancing communities in various facets and various ways. In terms of the work that I do, I come from particular background, particular qualifications in terms of science and mathematics, especially science, and I look at how we can advance our current corps of science teachers and science learners, and to prepare them for what is what generally known as the fourth industrial revolution, where the development of science goes beyond what we know it as it is now. And so for me, it is preparing our learners and our teachers to prepare the learners for the future and what the future holds.
Yes, and especially looking at us here in South Africa, and obviously looking at the type of work that you do as well. We are a very unequal society. We're a very unequal country, and I'm sure that looking at the level of support that you provide, also aimed at people that come from disadvantaged schools that are on the receiving end of this inequality that we see across the country.
Absolutely. This is the whole basis of the work that I'm doing. I'm supporting economically deprived, disadvantaged, whatever the term that you want to use, schools, learners, teachers that teach in these areas, and we want to see how we can uplift and advance the knowledge of the learners, so that they can go and look at these new positions that are opening up within artificial intelligence, robotics, coding, and all these, or science, physics, chemistry, astronomy, so that we strive to get more of our learners from the disadvantaged communities into these positions. One of the ways that we, well, the approach that we've taken is, we've looked at a needs assessment at communities. Before we go into a particular education district, I work with broader education districts, and before you go into that, you do a needs assessment in terms of what are the challenges, what are the major challenges in my field. Now, I can't fix the roof of a school, or or the toilets of a school. My field is in science education. Other people work in their particular areas. And so one of the things that we've done is to look at how can we, on the one side, improve the teaching of science and maths and technology in these areas for the future. And we then develop kind of training opportunities, training classes, accredited courses for teachers who then attend these particular training courses. Then on the other side, we have, this comes from the research that we've done. A lot of the students tend to shy away from the perceived hard subjects like science and mathematics, and so we then looked at how can we get learners more interested, stimulated to do science and mathematics, and to show them, that they are capable of doing these particular subjects. And so we do a whole lot of projects and activities for learners to bring them more into this way. One of the projects that we're busy with for learners is what is happening next week at the Cape Townian Hotel, where it's called Women in Mathematics. And because what we've seen is a lot of girls tend to shy away from pure mathematics, doing pure mathematics. And so for a project that we've run since 2007, we invite 3 or 4 learners from 25 schools across the Cape Flats, from the most disadvantaged schools across the Cape Flats, and we invite them to the Cape Townian Hotel, where we then hold in a symposium form, in a mini convention form, role models that come from the different communities, very good role models that come from different communities to come talk to them. At the first one, we have a chartered accountant, Fazlin Ori, We have people from actuarial science, from pure mathematics, somebody who studies volcanoes and underwater shiftings out in geology, and over the years we've had various female role models, people who studied very particular areas, and they come talk to them and tell them this is why mathematics is important, from where they are, from where they started, and then moving them up. These role models will tell them, I might not have liked mathematics, but I worked hard at mathematics. It was important for me. And when I went to study at university, this is where I did mathematics. It might not have done pure mathematics or mathematics as a subject, but it came into the subject. And then in their current careers, they talk about the role of mathematics in their current career. So this is one of the projects that we're doing with to get learners more interested in doing science and mathematics. There's another one coming up on the 28th of September, which will be held in the Worcester area, and that is science clubs, science competition that we're holding in, and there we have about 30 science clubs from primary school and high school from across the rural belt. Learners, their science club are represented at that particular competition, and then they show the kind of science activities that they prepared in the science club, and there's an actual competition, a really strenuous competition between them, not between the teachers also. But the teachers are preparing these learners to show the kind of experiments that they're doing, the exhibitions that they're doing at the particular science competition. So we've from the research we've done, we've got on the one side we have to prepare the teachers, and the others, which I call building the culture of science teaching. On the other side, we do all kinds of activities for learners, projects, science involvement, competitions, and what I call building this culture of science learning. And then we have a third component, which we're working on very, very hard, is that science happens in a particular space, which is called the science laboratory. Now, you want to teach learners how to do different experiments. At the end of the matric paper in physical science consists of experiments that these learners are supposed to have been done. And the questions are based on those experiments. And if they haven't done it at school, like when we were at school, we have never done it. You put them at a disadvantage if you don't give them the space. And none of our disadvantaged schools have been built with good laboratories. Primary school never received any laboratory. High schools have a space and a venue. It might not be well stocked, but they have a space. And so what we've done is we started building science laboratories at schools, and we've done this with corporates like Garden Cities, Archway Foundation, the Western Cape Education Department, and in a few weeks' time, we will be opening the 104th science laboratory in the Western Cape. Sorry, 103rd science laboratory in the Western Cape. Now, remember, each of these laboratories costs around R1 million, just over R1 million. And so that's the kind of thing that we've contributed. And so from the research, we're looking at how do we incubate this culture of science teaching, of building the science teacher, of advancing the science teacher. How do we incubate the culture of science learning by supporting and getting the learners more interested in these subjects? And how do we incubate that in a creative space? And now the creative space are the laboratories that we've been building.
Yes. Obviously, Prof, there's still a lot of hard work that lies ahead, and I'm sure that it's a huge task. And but also at the same time, just looking back at the successes, and I'm sure that gives you a great sense of fulfillment in terms of what you have achieved to date. And I'm sure that with from time to time, hopefully we will be able to engage with you to take this discussion further. And as you celebrate a lot more successes, but for now, Prof, we celebrate people like yourselves on World Humanitarian Day. We recognize your achievements and the great contribution that you are making through your organizations, the AKNPC, the non-profit organization. So all the best to you, Prof. And once again, we do appreciate you taking time out and sharing what you have with us this morning right here on Salam Media. All the best to you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Yes, that was Professor Shahid Hartley with us this morning. And next up, we're going across to Maulana Munib Martin, and we're talking about the connection, this profound connection between Islamic teachings and World Humanitarian Day.